And we're returning for segment number 3, and it's probably one of the most enjoyable for me, Roger, and that's the discussion of Marilyn Merlot wines and the whole wine series of how did that ever come to being and your involvement in it?
Uh, I became the agent in May of 1982. I knew that the 20th anniversary of the death of Marilyn Monroe would be in August 5th, 1982. And I started a merchandising campaign, licensing campaign, but I never would think of commemorating or even mentioning the death of Marilyn Monroe because it's not a positive subject. And I chose to totally ignore it. But all of a sudden, I was getting an avalanche of telephone calls from the media asking, what about the death of Marilyn Monroe? What about the murder of Marilyn Monroe? Can you give us authorization to get her phone number from the telephone company and see her old records? And I started saying, this is getting bizarre. But then the major media started calling me. And I realized that she's really being deitized by the media. She was a great actress. She had a great story. And I chose to start commemorating the life of Marilyn Monroe rather than talking about the death of Marilyn Monroe. That was kind of my mantra. And then I ended up with a massive merchandising campaign worldwide because the estate had never prosecuted infringers. I actually took a worldwide trip. I went from Asia to Europe to India, looking for infringers, talking to lawyers. I know it was in April '83. That's when I took that trip. I went to the Frankfurt Fair, which is one of the largest mercantile fairs in the world, and I went up to booths that had Marilyn Monroe merchandise, and I said, "You can't do that. You have to have a license." He said, "She doesn't have any family." "What do you mean?" I said, "There is a family, and here's my papers, and here's a copy of the will," and I had them all take a license. It was really a lot of leg work, a lot of muscle work, a lot of yakking work. And pretty soon I pulled all these people together. I dealt with them fairly and ended up with 187 licensees during my representation of the estate of Marilyn Monroe. And one day, an accountant named Bob Older from the Napa Valley, St. Helena, telephoned me, and he said, "I'm an accountant, and I do the accounting for vineyards in the Napa Valley, and we have an idea to come out with a Marilyn Merlot wine." Well, because alcohol is sometimes a touchy subject with celebrities and families of celebrities, I ran it by the beneficiaries of the estate of Marilyn Monroe, and they agreed that I should continue negotiating and see what kind of deal I could work out. And I worked it out, and I believe the first vintage was 1986.
85.
85.
85.
And it's still being produced today, year after year after year. And it's very interesting because this is a 1993 bottle, but you see the distinctive label every year as a wonderful, distinctive photograph of Marilyn Monroe. And some of the people never saw these photographs. So this accountant really did incredible research. And when the wine was rated by one of the rating writers, I think it got a 93 from one of them.
Yeah, it was pretty high up in the early.
Yeah, in the early things. I never even opened a bottle because I thought this is of great value.
Well, it's interesting because, in 1985, they only made 400 cases. So it's not as if there's tons and tons of unopened bottles of wine. And my understanding, did you know anything about the Man-Eater series that they had made prior to the licensing agreement?
No.
Where the holders actually just bottled some wines without licenses. It was just as giveaways for all of their friends and relatives at Christmas time.
I never heard of that. What is their phone number again?
Well, my understanding, and that's how the whole thing got started, because to do it correctly and legally, they had to get your approval to
Right.
it. And from my understanding, in 1985, which was the first vintage, there were a limited number of cases made. I think the wine only sold for, at the time for $20 a bottle or something. And now at Maryland Wines, that same bottle has a retail value of $3,500.
Huh.
So it's become a collector's item. And what's happened is, as we got into the 1993, there was, a couple of thousand cases, but now when they're bottling the new wine that came out, the 2008 just came out, you could buy a 3-bottle collection at one of the famous big chains for $56. So they're producing thousands upon thousands, and it does create a real nice value for the older wines. So this is the 1993, and you have a couple of these that what we're going to do, since these were your wines, was there any reason that you happen to have had the 1993s, as multiple bottles?
And every contract, they're required to give me samples, and every 6 months a sample right from the production line to be sure the quality was all the same. So I had a few of these samples left.
Well, what we're going to do with this one, and just like we did in the last segment with the Nightlight, we'd love you to take your pen and on the back of that bottle, sign your name and today's date. Since it's, we only have, it's not a limited edition, but at least we know it's from your collection.
Okay, I'd be pleased to do that. I'll just sign it right here.
Right on. And it's the 21st today. And what we're going to do,
Okay.
that is just absolutely beautiful. And after we finish this segment, I have a couple other bottles. And then what we're going to do is take these and we'll create this little video and put it on eBay. And let's see if we can get some collectors, since, as it turns out, August 5th is coming pretty close again. And
That's right.
we're hopefully going to be down. There's a big memorial ceremony that's held at the
Westwood Cemetery
Westwood,
every August 5th.
every August 5th. I was absolutely shocked 2 years ago when I went down. There were about 300-400 people
That's right.
that show up there. But anyway, Roger, I really want to thank you very much for joining us today in the studios. And hopefully this is the first start of a complete thing where we'd like to try and help get the story of Roger Richmond and this whole agency thing and what you've done for a lot of these celebrities a little bit more documented on video. And I hope you'll join us for another segment.
I have a lot of stories. I'd be pleased to talk further about them.
Fantastic. And I thank you so much.
Thank you, Bob.